Yeah, hi. I'm on the 106th floor of the World Trade Center. We just had an explosion on the 105th floor.
The 106th floor?
Yes.
106, okay.
We have a conference up there. There's about 100 calls up
What
there.
is your last name?
H-A-N-L-E-Y.
H-A-N.
We have smoke and...
We speak on the phone every day from work. He used to call me every single day. And I did talk to him that particular day, 10 minutes before the plane actually hit his building.
Well, when the plane first hit, Michelle, one of my coworkers, said, "What was that?" And I said, "I don't know, maybe it was an earthquake." And then the ceiling tiles were coming out and dropping, and smoke was coming from the telephone closet where they have all the wires. And I said, "I don't know what it was, Michelle, but we got to get out of here."
I had received a phone call from my sister, and she asked if my husband had went into work that morning. I said, of course he did. And she said, "Maria, a plane crashed into the Twin Towers." And I said, you know, it's not April Fool's Day, stop joking. She said, "Maria, it's not a joke, turn on the TV." And that was when I saw the second plane go into the other tower.
Another coworker of mine, John Kennedy, had come up to the building just in time to see the second plane. And at first I thought, oh my God, if this guy's not careful, he's going to hit the building too. And then as soon as the words left my lips, I realized that he was intending on hitting the building, that we were under an attack. And the second plane hit the building right above our heads.
And at that point, all the people that were walking down West Street towards Battery Park started to run. So it was like a stampede. So I had to quickly turn around and run towards Battery Park with the thousands of people that were coming down towards the park on West Street. And when I got to the park, there were several internet people there. Charles and I began to walk down Water Street from Battery Park, and we were heading for the Brooklyn Bridge. We saw that thousands of people were walking across, so we figured that would be our best way. And I had told Charles that if we had gotten to Brooklyn, I would be able to direct us back to the Verrazano Bridge so that we could make it back to the Staten Island.
We took a bus past the Staten Island Mall, went to John's car. Then John gave me a ride to my sister's house. When I got to my sister Susan's house, I found that they weren't home. So I went up to a block away. There was a tavern, the West Shore Inn. I went in there. I figured I would have a beer to calm my nerves.
He called and told me he was in the restaurant down the street from my home. And I ran into his arms and we hugged and I cried and he cried. It was very emotional and my son was with me. It was a very emotional time for us.
There was a message on our answering machine from him saying he was down the street at a local restaurant. So as soon as I heard it, I ran right out the door, ran up to him and gave him the biggest hug I can give him.
I didn't see him till the day after. When he managed to make it to Staten Island, his friend drove him home the next morning, and it was indescribable. The sheer joy and happiness I felt when I saw him get out of that car was elation, joy.
It proved to me that tomorrow is promised to no one.
I don't know if my brother ever got over his mental scars. I'm sure that he still has plenty of them, but it's not something that he brings out or shows anyone.
I think he'll always have scars as far as experiencing what he experienced. I'm sure he'll always remember certain aspects of what happened and what happened during his experience and how he had to get out and different things. And I think that'll stay with him forever.
Right after it happened, we were moved from New York City to our disaster recovery site in Jersey City and had to work from there for a couple of weeks until we can get another place rented in Manhattan. And in those couple of weeks that we were working in Jersey City, I kept getting the sensation that the floor was dropping out from under me. It was a very weird feeling, and every time there was a loud noise outside the building, immediately you thought it was another attack or explosion. And so yeah, it was very on edge, very scary.
We're on vacation with my sister and her husband, and the four of us were enjoying ourselves. And they had questions about 9/11. but they were too afraid to ask. They didn't want to bring up any bad memories for my husband. But after a few bottles of wine, they asked about his what happened that day, and he went in detail describing how the bodies sounded as they hit the pavement, and the screams, the running.
You know, when I started thinking about the people jumping again and the flames and all the screaming and pushing and yelling and watching the towers fall from so close, it brought me to tears, especially because we had a couple glasses of wine with our dinner, and you know, I had my heart on my sleeve and broke down and cried a little bit, enough to make your aunt feel bad for asking me about it, but I actually felt better after speaking about it, getting it off my chest.
Whenever he travels into the city, I do worry about his safety.
My brother, I'm sure, was afraid to go back to the city, but he's a very strong-willed person, and I know he has a family, and he loves his family, and he knows he has to support his family. So I guess he puts his fears beside him, and he just does what he has to do.
I'm a pretty religious person, so I know that I feel that my fate is already written out. If I'm going to die in a terrorist attack, if that's what God has planned for me, then that's how I'll go.
We still talk about it here and there, but I would say I have my uncle back.
Well, I think we've pretty much gotten back into the usual routine. We've become more loving. He's become attentive. We don't take life for granted. He's pretty much back to normal.
We're still as close as we were, since we've always been.
Charles and I had, and always will have, a tremendous bond, having shared that day together and the horrors that occurred.
I can't let it make me quit my job and stay home. Like I said, I believe in God, and I believe God watches over me, and when He decides it's time for me to go, I'll go. I just go to work and hope for the best.